Every year, the NBA introduces a new crop of great talent and potential mixed into one draft class. While there are always many uncertainties about these players, it's almost a guarantee that each draft class will produce a solid set of players that go on to have good NBA careers, and certain draft classes have been remembered as some of the greatest of all time, like the 1984, 1996, and 2003 draft classes, which produced some of the most legendary players of all time. However, as with all draft classes, there are always some players who slip through the cracks and are drafted later on, only for them to outperform and surpass all expectations, leaving us all wondering, how did he fall so low? We've seen it numerous times in NBA history, like Kobe falling to 13th, John Stockton falling to 16th, and Manu Ginobili falling all the way to 57th. Now, when looking at the 2018 NBA draft, everyone remembers two guys, Trae Young and Luka Doncic, both guys who have become faces of their team and faces of the draft. DeAndre Ayton has established himself as one of the best up-and-coming centers and a double-double machine, but let's just hope he lays off the PEDs in the future, you feel me? But aside from him, Jaren Jackson Jr. and Shea seem to be future perennial all-stars with their performances this season as well. But there's one guy who in just the span of 5 games and counting has established himself as one of the league's brightest stars, is reminiscent of a young Kevin Durant, and can absolutely transcend Denver into an NBA dynasty. And the man I'm talking about is none other than the 14th pick of the 2018 draft, Michael Porter Jr. And look, if I'm being honest, I don't think anyone should be surprised that MPJ has been this good. Looking as far back as his high school career, you could see that the man was going to be one of the best talents in the game one day, averaging 36.2 points and 13.6 rebounds in his senior season. He had a silky smooth jumper, shot creating ability, explosiveness, and on top of all this, he had a 6'10 frame and a nasty 7-foot wingspan on top of that. This all led him to being the number 2 prospect in the country according to ESPN, and him committing to the University of Missouri. However, unfortunately for Porter, it was here that he would suffer an injury in his first game ever, leading to lower back surgery on his spine. What resulted was in Porter's draft stock absolutely tanking from a potential number 1 overall pick to being selected all the way down to number 14 by the Denver Nuggets. But man, with the way he's been playing recently, he has left some teams regretting their decision. After missing all of the 2018-19 season, Porter finally made his long-awaited debut for Denver in the 2019-20 season, and while he didn't get significant minutes, it was clear that he was an offensive machine, capable of putting up high scoring numbers on great efficiency. In just 14 minutes per game, Porter averaged 7.5 points and 4.1 rebounds. However, since the bubble began, Denver has unleashed Michael Porter Jr., removing all limits and restrictions and finally allowing him to play to the best of his abilities. In just 5 games and counting so far, he's been an absolute flamethrower, averaging 25.6 points and 10.2 rebounds per game on 54, 42, and 96 shooting splits. He's been a huge part as to why Denver even has a 3-2 record in the bubble, even with 4 of their starters being out due to injury. But looking past these numbers, I want to talk about Porter's strengths and what he can do to improve his weaknesses and build upon said strengths. Clearly, Porter's greatest strength on the court is putting the ball in the basket, plain and simple. He's got a silky smooth jumper and a very high release point, which makes his shot nearly unblockable, reminding me a lot of T-Mac with how high he gets off the floor. And speaking of his jumper, he's been absolutely lethal from the outside, hitting over 3 threes a game on 42% shooting from there. Porter benefits a lot from playing with the best passing big men in the game in Jokic, as well as Paul Millsap, who isn't a bad passer himself, as their gravity sucks in the defense, leaving him wide open. But this doesn't mean that he can only shoot when he's wide open. He's shown the ability to hit tough shots with the defender's hand in his face, and the ability to take shots off the dribble in the mid-range area. However, what sets him apart from the rest is his ability to move off of the ball, which he is absolutely phenomenal at. Usually, a lot of the great scorers in the league actually are extremely ball dominant, and when they don't have the ball, they usually just stand around and conserve energy. However, much like Stephen Curry, this is the opposite for Porter. The Nuggets have ran a variety of plays for him, with him coming off screens and making a read based on how the defense is playing him. He's shown the ability to effectively come off curls for easy layups at the rim, and he's also shown the ability to flare out of screens, punishing defenders that overplay said screen. Even when the defense tries to clog the cutting lane, Porter continues to move, allowing the offense to not be stagnant. And if the defense jumps said cutting lane way too early, Porter is able to hit them with a smooth backdoor, and Denver is usually able to find him for another easy bucket at the rim. He and Jokic are also developing a great two-man game, with Jokic acting as the handoff/screener, while Porter makes the read to either take the handoff and drive to the basket, take the handoff and hit Jokic on the roll or the pop, fake the handoff and pop out for a shot when the defense is overplaying, or reject the handoff altogether and cut to the open spot. His movement off the ball is what I believe allows him to be so efficient from the field, as it gets him a lot of easy looks from inside and out. Porter has also shown the ability to get to the line, averaging 5 free throw attempts per game in this stretch, and shooting at a ridiculous 96%. This man is 100% without a doubt a walking bucket. Another one of Porter's strengths is his rebounding ability, which to be honest, I think was a much bigger surprise to me than his scoring output and efficiency. I knew that he was a good rebounder in high school, but I didn't think that it would absolutely translate fully to the NBA, but I was sorely mistaken. He's shown the ability to rebound on both ends of the court, with offensive rebounds resulting in easy putbacks for him, and defensive rebounds resulting in fast break buckets for the Nuggets. But even as spectacular as Porter has been, there are still some things that I think he could improve on, and definitely has the ability to improve on. The biggest thing that he definitely needs to work on is his fouls, because man does this guy rack up a lot of them. Over the course of 5 games, he's averaging a whopping 4 fouls per game, with a lot of them being very avoidable. He jumps a lot on pump fakes, specifically on the perimeter, which results in him either getting blown by, or him fouling the jump shooter. Along with this, he has a tendency to reach on people when driving to the basket, rather than going vertical with his 6'10 frame and 7-foot wingspan. He's also drawn quite a bit of offensive fouls, whether it be holding defenders to push them into screens, or not avoiding charges at the basket. And while the amount of fouls may be concerning, a lot of this can definitely be fixed with experience, because remember, this is technically his first year in the league still. Once he fixes these things, I think he has the ability to become one of the better defenders in the league. And another thing that he could definitely work on is his passing, as he's only averaging 1.5 assists per game. And while this may not be the definition of being a good passer or not, there are a lot of times where he's got his blinders on, especially when he goes to the basket, which causes him to either miss open shooters or cutters when their man plays help defense to attempt to stop Porter's drive. He's also at times settled for tough mid-range jumpers early into the shot clock, when he could have passed it out to an open man to reset the offense. Again, this is something that should get better with experience once he's able to identify said situations. To close the video, I'd like to say that Michael Porter Jr.'s development is absolutely game-changing for the Nuggets. Should he continue to play at this level, he, Jokic, Jamal Murray, and possibly even Bol would make a very dangerous core to go along with all the great role players they have, such as Will Barton, Gary Harris, Jeremy Grant, and Monty Morris. Porter's ability to score would definitely take a lot of pressure off of Jokic and Murray, who teams know to game plan around, given that they are both the team's primary scorers and playmakers. I can truly see Porter leading this team in scoring and becoming one of, if not the best pure scorer in the league. Yes, I said it, best pure scorer in the league. If he's doing this at just 22 years old, I can't imagine how deadly he'll be in 5 years once he hits his prime. Let's just hope he stops with the controversial statements, to say the least, in regards to the social climate of today. But with all that said, thank you very much for watching the video, and comment down below what you think Michael Porter Jr.'s ceiling is, and if he'll ever reach that. Thank you very much for watching again, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and turn on post notifications because we'll be uploading every week. But with all that being said, remember this: Michael Porter Jr.'s mom averaged 45 points in high school and is one of the all-time leading scorers at Iowa. And it seems like Michael has inherited that gene as well.